Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Cantey, and this is another enlightened moment. For the past few days, I've been in conversations with my friends in LA, and some of whom have lost everything in the LA fires that are going on right now. Um, just listening to the fear and the heartache, the trauma of losing not only your home, but your neighborhood, your bank, your dry cleaners, where you walked your dog. Of course, all your neighbors, everyone's dispersed and displaced. And those are just the people who have lost their homes. Other of my friends are, they have alarms on their phones notifying them of the new fires that are popping up in every neighborhood. There is no one right now that feels safe in LA. And I found myself, of course, having a lot of empathy, compassion, of course, for everything that's going on, for everything they are going through, because it is traumatic. In Northeast Florida, we have hurricanes, and boy, I've been on the receiving end of them feeling nervous, like it's a hurricane. It looks like it's going to pass right over you, and what are you going to do? And it's this idea of, yes, there are plans put in place. Yes, we're all doing the best we can do. Yes, we're preparing, but are you ever really prepared? We're just all doing the best we can. But I noticed later in the day when I had some appointments and some things to do, I felt myself overwhelmed. I felt myself kind of depressed and sad. And I was watching myself and it's like, oh, I'm sad, I'm depressed. And I could hear myself say, no, you're not. Look at your life. You have a beautiful life. You are safe. There are no fires. There are no hurricanes where you are. You're feeling empathy and compassion for others. That's wonderful. But taking it on as your own is destructive. It's not mine. It's mine to hold the space for love, for solutions, for insight, for hugs, for holding, for just letting them know that I see you, I hear you. This is a huge thing that you're going through. But when we turn that around and we take that on as our own and we identify that open, spacious place as our sorrow. We bring it back in. We actually do our friends a disservice because now it's mine. Now I'm depressed. Now I can't help anyone. Now I'm sad. Now I'm lethargic. Now I don't want to do what I had scheduled to do because, and I can name some faraway event or something that is happening across the world. So hear me as I say, the place for compassion is always called for. The place for how can I help? What can I do? How can I serve you? How can I see you in this? What would you like prayer for? Or, hey, my house is open if you're just ready to get away for a while and need to watch it on a TV screen instead of live. It's like we want to be that open, spacious space for love and compassion, but not taking it on as ours. And that is one of the challenges for someone who's a highly sensitive person and an empath or an intuitive. It's that boundary of being available and knowing where that pain is, that people are in pain, people are suffering, people are hurting, they're scared. They don't know what's going to happen next. And we don't take that on. We provide a safe space to feel all of that. And yes, our hearts will open and sometimes crack open. And that is the validation of our connection. Yes, we are connected. We are not separate beings, but all connected through one heart, through one mind, through one life. But keeping ourselves available as support for someone means to keep the open, spacious space, to keep it clear from personal identity, opening our hearts for what is available for us to do for others in that situation, for prayer, for knowing the highest good, for knowing that when we're called to, we can help, we can be available, we can be uplifted and enlivened to serve others in our highest capacity. So I just invite you to listen. And if you're watching the news, or if you know someone who is in dire situations where they're afraid, where they're in loss, where they're in grief, remind yourself to be that space that is so big. You can encompass that and the solution and the love and the compassion. You are that space. And in that space, you are uplifting. You are loving. You are a place of kindness and generosity in that space. So that was my lesson today and yesterday and the night before. And I keep learning to stay open, to stay available, because we don't want to shut it out. These are our friends, our family. We don't want to shut it out and say, I cannot deal with that. No, we can. We are the loving, grounded space of love and compassion. And I will deal with that. I will be there for you. I hope this has given you some insight into how you can be open and spacious and loving without making it personal and feeling overwhelmed so that you can't even do what you were going to do today. But we can be there for our friends and our family who are overwhelmed and going through things by opening up even more. That's my invitation for you. I hope you spend the rest of the week laughing, loving, and living enlightened while you're helping others and serving others to be right where they need to be, to do what they need to do, and to feel everything that they're feeling. So soon after I recorded that segment, I had talked to my buddy, my pal, Dr. Dane here, co-founder of Access Consciousness, and we actually had a healing session around that. I told him what had happened, what I described with you guys, and how I had taken it personally. And I don't normally do that. I don't normally take on the pain that someone is going through. But like I said, it's a lot of collective pain. It's a lot of devastation that is happening in one area with a lot of personal connections to that. So you and all of us have the compassion to say, yeah, that's understandable. I can understand that. And as I explained, it is understandable, but it is not very helpful. It really isn't helpful if, your friends, your family, someone you know and love is going through something really devastating and you become devastated, but you're not going through it. I mean, in other words, your life looks fine. We want to be that place, that open, spacious place that I talked about. And Dane reminded me that if I want to really embrace that aspect of myself that is that open, spacious place, that our healing session was about being psychic, not with the world, giving up my psychic connection with the world. And this sounds a little strange, so I'm going to explain it to you, but giving up my psychic connection with the world and embracing instead my psychic connection with the universe. And that is what I was explaining, is that when we are the universal presence of love and compassion, and when we step into that unlimited perspective, we become a place where there is infinite possibilities for healing, for resolution, for even small or big problems to be resolved. We become a universal presence of not just love and compassion. We become a place where practical solutions can bubble up, while people who are in pain and suffering and loss and grief, we become that space where not only can we help see resolution and be helpful and be clear and have wisdom, but we allow them to come to that place when they're ready to resolve whatever they need to resolve in their situations. So it isn't just this kind of woo-woo place of being that empty, spacious sky. It's very, very practical. But what happens, as I described, is when I take that on as my own, and I can't get out of bed and I can't get my work done because I'm so sad, I'm so feeling so much loss. It's like, wow, then I become part of the problem and not very helpful. And of course, that reminded me of a book I had not picked up in many, many, many years, and that is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And he, of course, talks about one of the Four Agreements, one of his most famous books. If you haven't read it, I encourage you to. And one of the agreements is not taking things personally. And it's similar and slightly different, but it's rooted in that understanding that what others say or do, what they're feeling, how they're feeling, is a reflection of their own perceptions, beliefs, and inner state. And in that situation, in their outer state, they're literally talking with me on the phone as they're watching fires jumping into their neighborhood and burning their homes down. But that is what they are going through. That is what and their reactions to that, of course, there's shock and there's disbelief and there's frustration and fear. That is theirs. And to take that on would be, as I described, destructive for me and them. But when we look at it with just the everyday situations in our lives, of somebody who's having a bad day and they're checking us out at the grocery store, or someone who's just negative because we don't even know why. Maybe they had a bad doctor's appointment. Maybe they have a friend who's going through something, but they're in this negative space. We don't even know them, and they're cutting us off on the freeway or something. Why take that on? Why take on anyone else's energy? Why take on anyone else's suffering, when even in those situations where we don't know the person, we have no idea what they're going through, we can still be that empty, spacious sky. We can be a clear channel for ourselves. We may be sitting by ourselves in our own car, and they're in their car zipping along, running off the road, whatever they're doing, and in the state of mind that they are in. Why would we invite that into our space? So we can look at it, in this specific way that I brought it up for me, which is, as I said, one of the few times that really kind of sucked me into taking that on. But how many times in our regular, just everyday life, when there's nothing spectacular going on, do we get sidetracked by someone else's emotions, by someone else's story, by somebody else's negative mood? And it's something to think about. And as Dane was telling me, at Access Consciousness, they have regularly a question of like, what is mine? Is this anger mine or is it someone else's? Is this frustration mine? Or is my kid coming home from school completely frustrated with his teacher or his grade or something that didn't happen or something that did happen? And am I going to take that on and allow it to be my frustration, my anger, my story? Or am I going to be the place for resolution? And not trying to fix anybody either, because that's a whole separate problem. We could do a whole nother podcast on that, right? I'm gonna be this spacious space so I can tell you how to fix your problems. No, that's not that's definitely not it either. But being the open space, we naturally become available to be part of the solution if that is what's asked of us, right? And I'm going to go back. I'm skipping around because there was so much there with access consciousness, that idea of being psychic or being in touch with, being in tune with, being at one with the universe rather than the world being the world of effects, the world of form, the individual finite minds or finite stories or egos that we come across, but being connected or attuned, in tune with the universe is understanding that higher perspective, that wholeness, and feeling wholeness even while we allow ourselves to be with someone who is in grief or loss, even if that someone is ourselves, right? So these spiritual principles and practices are really across the board. A lot of people speak about them in very different ways. And as I said, that brings me back to Don Miguel Ruiz's that I had not looked at in a very long time. Of course, Don Miguel Ruiz, he talked about it the way many spiritual teachers and practices and traditions talk about it is, the dream, that it's a dream. And we're having a nightmare, we're having a bad dream, or someone's having a nightmare or a bad dream. And that the waking state is actually, being awake, living enlightened is the ability to perceive the dream, perceive the perceived problem or the challenge or the nightmare or the loss or the grief, the fire, the flood, the hurricane. We can perceive that, but we also perceive a wholeness, a unity consciousness. And that gives us that sense of peace that cannot be taken by loss. In other words, if and when we experience loss, it's not a piece of us that is lost. It's a piece of form. It's a home. It's a car. It's of course a person. We've all lost someone that we love, and lost is such a strange word, isn't it? We didn't lose them. They didn't go anywhere. But they're not with us in physical form. But we are consciously connected to all of it when we allow ourselves that space. And the space I'm talking about really comes from the heart. It comes from the heart. It's almost like the heart, when it's open, cannot even take things personally because everything it sees that is personal, it sees your friend, it sees your lover, your parents, your children, it sees your home or your dog, and it's so open that it just includes it, whether it's loss or whether it's a moment of joy or ecstasy. It just takes it in and loves it. And it is whole in that moment. There is no such thing as loss. I would never tell that to someone, including myself, as I'm grieving the loss of something that has happened in my life, for sure. Um, at the same time, personally, without speaking it out loud, we can know a sense of wholeness and sadness. Isn't that wild? Isn't that the craziest, most wonderful paradox? That we can know the pain and the depth of being fully human, fully alive, fully integrated in our body, while we understand this unity consciousness that nothing was ever taken from us, nothing has ever been lost, that every ounce of love and compassion and joy and uh, peace that we've ever experienced is still right here. And those people that we experienced it with are right here. That is an ultimate truth that we can come to. And sometimes we come to it through pain, through loss. When we become aware, when we become so in tune with the signals that our body is sending us, the sensations. When I felt myself shutting down, when I felt myself not excited to do the things that I had planned to do, I could I could ask, what is happening? This is unusual. What's going on? And with curiosity and compassion for myself, I could see where I had slipped into that worldly consciousness of taking it personally, making it about me when it wasn't at all about me. Being aware allowed me to investigate, you know, be curious. What's happening to me? Why am I feeling heavy? And then finding the answers, just giving myself some space and time to get the answers is the gift that brings us back to our freedom and our power. As I said, the power to be a space of resolution for others if they need it, and for ourselves when we need it. And when we become the observer, we stop reacting and we start responding. We stop reacting and we've created this space to create. So we're not reacting to the situations. We're the open space that allows the creativity, infinite possibilities, unlimited creativity to move into something new, whatever needs to come out of that. So I really appreciated that distinction with Dr. Dane here, the distinction between the psychic connection with the world and the psychic connection with the universe. And you don't have to use those words. It's just being connected um, to the story or to the world of effects or the world of form, or being connected to the spirit within or to your soul or to your intuition or your highest power. And for those of you who are empaths and intuitives, I don't know if this happens to you, but once in a while, I get just sucked right into it. And someone else helped me with this. It was in the second interview with Robin Jelinek, and she was channeling Athena. And that happened. A very similar story had come up, and I saw myself doing that. So that's the last time I did it. It's very interesting. But as we train ourselves, that's why I do what I do, and helping others, and then they're available to be that open, spacious sky for me and to mirror back to me the way Athena did or the way Dr. Dane here did. And that is to say, oh, look at you, you're in connection, with the world of form. You're in lack, you're in limitation, you're in the event, and you're owning it. But that's not the truth of your being. Isn't that fun? That's not the truth of our being. Every time we find ourselves just feeling heavy, like wearing this armor, that's not the truth of our being. And it only takes a moment, a breath, a realization, a mentor, a friend to remind us. It only takes being in touch with the body. Look, I feel this heaviness in my body. Wow, that's unusual. I had so many things planned for today. It's a beautiful day outside. Why am I not doing what I said I wanted to do? Well, that's an interesting question, isn't it? We can just breathe with questions like that, questions that open us up and expand us and allow that truth to bubble up and inform us. And then we have that aha moment. Wow, I'm taking this on as mine. And I want to be there for my friends. I want to be there for my family when they're going through loss. I don't want it to be about me. It's about them. They're going through enough. They don't have to worry about how I'm feeling about what they're going through. So yes, a great invitation this week is check in with yourself often and just ask yourself, is this mine? This heaviness, and of course, if you were in a situation like the LA fires or your friends or family were, or if you're in a situation with the hurricanes or the tornadoes, or right now there's an Arctic blast going everywhere. I'm sure it's causing havoc in certain areas. When you are feeling empathy for someone or for yourself, for loss, allowing yourself to feel, of course, loss and grief when it's yours is so healthy. And then allowing ourselves to expand that grief into, even more and more of that sky, so the resolution of healing can begin. But not until we've just been with our loss, been with our grief, been with our understanding or our misunderstanding. If you'd like to know more about these principles and practices, I talk a lot about them in my book, Living Enlightened, The Joy of Integrating Spirit, Mind, and Body. I also go into that in my coaching programs. And you can check out my website, elizabethcantey.com, for more information. And I hope this week that you laugh, love, and live enlightened. And remember to be that open, spacious sky, and allow whatever clouds are going through. And remember, they are not you, they are not yours. You are big enough to include all of it. That's how big we are. That's how expansive we are. So I invite you this week to laugh, love, and live enlightened every single day.